When does it all end, huh? How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough?
It's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Money itself isn't lost or made. It's simply transferred from one perception to another. Like magic. This painting here, I bought it 10 years ago for $60,000. I could sell it today for $600. The illusion has become real. And the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it. Capitalism at its finest.
Hi, I'm Ed Kless, and that scene from the famous 1987 movie Wall Street is the first business myth that we're going to talk about in this series on the top 10 business myths. Business is a zero-sum game. This concept has been around for a long time. I mean, it seems obvious to us, right? I make a trade for something, I exchange this for that, I must be making an even trade, right? But that's really not the case. A French economist named Bastiat first pointed this out to us when he wrote a famous paper on that which is unseen. And let me explain. In a transaction, let's take a simple transaction where I walk into Starbucks and I exchange my $3.50 for a cup of coffee. Well, I'm not making an even trade. Starbucks wants my $3.50 more than it wants the cup of coffee. And in fact, I want the cup of coffee more than I want the $3.50. Now, how much more? I don't know. Is it $3.51 more, $4 more? I'm not sure. I don't have an internal mechanism called a hedon that lets me measure that against dollars. But I do know that I'm made more wealthy by the fact that I now have this cup of coffee because I value it more than the $3.50. Otherwise, I would have gotten something else, either a donut and a cup of coffee down the street at Dunkin' Donuts, or I would have saved my money and perhaps bought a bigger lunch later. But at that moment, I wanted the cup of coffee more. And so it's obvious to us in some ways that the Starbucks is making a profit because they can provide the coffee for less than $3.50. That's their cost, is less than $3.50, and that's their profit. But what's this measurement of my profit? Because really, I wanted it more. And it's that which is unseen, as Bastiat said. Now, I'm made more wealthy, but not in a financial sense. It's in some other sense. Well, many cases, especially with business transactions, you're actually made more wealthy in a financial sense as well. Business-to-business transactions often involve both businesses, in a sense, making a profit on each other. Yes, the provider is making a profit because they're doing it for lower cost, but the business that's getting the new thing is also making a profit because they couldn't have done it for the price that they paid. In fact, they would have probably had to pay more or even double what the provider was making. So in this way, both sides are enriched in this way. And this is the miracle, really, of this free-floating price system that we have. Now, I think this is an important point because if it is, in fact, a dollar for dollar or even trade, something important in the next scene in Wall Street wouldn't make sense. Gordon Gekko goes on to say, not only is it a zero-sum game, but he says that the richest 1% in the country own half our country's wealth, $5 trillion. Okay, so let's just accept that as the truth. I haven't done the research on that, but let's just accept that as the truth. Well, how is it now that our country's wealth is, even with the contraction in 2008, near $60 trillion, 6 times that amount? Inflation doesn't account for this. It must be something else. If it were, in fact, a zero-sum game, this number would not have grown. It would still be $10 trillion if it were just one for one. Our wealth grows in lots of different ways, not just monetarily. In fact, the World Bank estimates that most of the wealth of the world is not measured financially at all. In fact, it's our knowledge of what we have as a society. After all, if you really think about it, everything that's here, the books that are behind me, the computer that I'm speaking to you on, the raw materials for this stuff were all here when the Neanderthals were around. It's only when we apply the human mind to these things that has created more wealth and more value. So, we've destroyed this first business myth. Business is not a zero-sum game.